Hello, 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 everybody. My name is Jackson Black. I know we've been away for a while. Some things have popped up, but we are back. We're gonna call this season two. This is gonna be episode one, season two. Ladies and gentlemen, I have tonight former WWE ring announcer Troy Beasley. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Man, if I was any better, I'd be twins, brother. How are you?
I'm doing good, doing good. Just trying to get back into the flow of things.
And I'm honored to be the first episode of season two. Holy crap, that's a big deal.
It is pretty
You'll sell
cool.
this.
So, what's up, brother?
I said you'll sell this place out, kid.
I hope so. I hope so. All right, let's just jump right in. What made you fall in love with professional wrestling?
So my aunt knew a lot of people in USWA or CWA back then. My first game of pool was at Paul Morton's house, Ricky Morton's father's house with Ricky. I was 5 years old. And it was just in my blood, man. I loved it from my earliest memories are in the Mid-South Coliseum or the Coliseum in Evansville or just that loop. And just always loved it. I thought that I would actually be a wrestler, even trained some, but had back surgery at an early age. And back then the recovery time wasn't like what it is now. People told me my whole life that I had a great voice. I always thought they meant that I had a perfect face for radio, but so I just kind of went into the announcing side of things instead of wrestling. Just I look, my bump card, I don't have one, so yeah, it's always been around.
Love it, love it, love it. So, do you remember the first time you ever announced? What was going through your head that day?
Absolutely. So it was I'm from Central City, Kentucky, by the way. Central City has about 3 or 4 thousand people, super small. But there was a show that ran there, Shelby Adcock, who the Ox came up under. A lot of people, a lot of names came through there, but he ran a building, and I would always go, and they didn't have an announcer one night. And they asked me if I would do it, and I did it like on the fly and had no idea. Like, I don't think people had ever started talking.
Ladies and gentlemen, he will be back shortly. There
I
he goes.
sorry, and this may happen a lot. And we'll get into that in a little bit. My real job, it takes a lot of my time, but I can just make return those calls, later. But anyway, so yeah, I had no idea I was going to do it, man. They asked me to do it, and I jumped in, and that's the day that I was bitten by the bug. Like, I always knew that I wanted to be in the business, but once you hear that crowd the first time, whether it's 3 people or 3,000, that's the day I was bitten by the bug.
I feel that. I understand what that's like. So let's go through. We got your first show, the Sound of the Books. What was the first high profile, like you're like, oh crap, I think I've arrived a little bit moment in the business?
Yeah. Oh, it was weird, man. So my first show was 14 years old. And then I didn't do much. I just hung around the business a little bit, but I went into the corporate world. I was a corporate trainer for a telemarketing firm. Traveled the country teaching people how to harass people on the phone, basically. And I was in just outside of Atlantic City. I was living just outside of Atlantic City doing that. And I lost my job. And we'll get into all that stuff later, too. But I lost my job. So I went and found a job signing people up for credit cards on Steel Pier in Atlantic City. If you know Atlantic City at all, Steel Pier is the pier that has the roller coaster on it, the big tourist attraction there. So I was signing people up for credit cards. I got $1 an application, whether they got approved or not, making pretty good money. And this guy comes up. He was like, "Oh my God, son." He was like, "You got an amazing energy. I love your voice." He was like, "I run a boxing show at Boardwalk Hall on Thursdays. I'd love to have you." And I was like, "Man, that's crazy." When I was a kid, I did some stuff in wrestling. Wrestling's always been a thing, but I love boxing too. Man, I'd love to help you. He said, "Well, call time is at 4 o'clock. Show starts at 7. Be there. If you can't get my information off the application, give me a call if you can't come." So I go to write down this dude's information, man, and it said Roy Foreman, Houston, Texas. George Foreman's brother hired me to do his boxing show on site in Atlantic City. So I started doing that, and I was like, man, I can put food on the table doing this, like it. And so I did that for a little while, and my wife at the time was pregnant and wanted to come back home to have the baby. So I packed up everything I had, came back to Kentucky. I was living in Russellville at the time, and just heartbroken, man. I knew that I'd found my calling, and just wanted to do that worse than anything in the world. But I can't. I couldn't.
We will return here momentarily. We have a little bit of technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. So, being back for season 2, ladies and gentlemen, this has been quite the experience so far. Oh, we're working back in. Maybe, but just having done all of season 1 already, which is just craziness in of itself. We will wait for him to come back through. I mean, I love that people are finding it and they at least enjoy a little bit of what I'm trying to do here. The goal is to just like get you into a deeper sense of like these people aren't all stars, or they are.
I don't know what happened, buddy. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're good.
Were you plugging something you need to finish?
Nope. I was just filling air.
Filling time. All right. So I have no idea what happened. I hope it doesn't happen anymore. So packed up everything, man. Moved back to Kentucky. I was in Russellville, Kentucky at the time, and I started going back to shows in Evansville. And anybody listening from this part of Tennessee, I'm in Nashville now, but if you remember Lone Star, he was a staple in the area back in the day. He was booking at the Coliseum in Evansville, and I showed up one night and was like, man, I really, this is my dream. I really want to get back in the business. I dropped Shelby's name, who also ran in Evansville for a long time, and he said, man, I don't have anything here, but come to Springfield, Tennessee. I don't remember what night it was, like a Wednesday or Thursday. No, it had to have been a Thursday because that was on Wednesdays. Come to Springfield, Tennessee tomorrow, and I might be able to get you on there. So I showed up down there, suit in hand, and went in and told them my deal. And they said, we'll give you a shot. No promises. So I did that show tonight, and then George Goulas, son of Nick Goulas, obviously, and Mike Porter, who is no longer with us, came to me at the end of the night and was like, look, we've got a TV show. We want you to be the host of the show. And so all I heard was TV. I want you to be the host. I had no idea what I was getting into. So I started doing that. And then the first night that I show up for this TV taping, it was at the Stadium Inn again. Anybody from this area remembers the Stadium Inn very well. Old rundown hotel that had a perfect little room for wrestling, for like studio wrestling. But I was scared to death, man. I wouldn't. I didn't want to sit down in any of the chairs. It was nasty, dirty. You know how some locker rooms are. But and we're gonna talk about this more hopefully in a minute. But Cassie Riley was the first person to, and pardon me if I cry, I just went to his retirement match. Cassie Riley was the first person to like take me under his wing and show me Nashville and really, really teach me the business. Now, mind you, I'd been doing stuff since I was 14, but I really never dove all the way in, wasn't broke in really. You know what I mean? Like I'd done stuff, but it had turned more toward boxing. So that was in 2004. And yeah, man, I worked for Porter for a little while, and then Burt Prentice came to one of Porter's shows and said, listen, Sugar, you're too big for this little show. He was like, he said, I also run a show. He said, I want to show you a real show. And have me come to the fairgrounds. It was again, this is 20 years ago. It was Jimmy Valiant's farewell tour, and so it was his AJ Styles was on the card that night. Team Canada, Pete Williams, Eric Young, Bobby Roode, James Storm, obviously, Chase Stevens, obviously, who we'll probably talk about a lot in a little bit. But that locker room was one of the best locker rooms I've ever seen in my life as far as talent goes, because the whole TNA roster was on there, and plus people that had already made their way up to WWE and back down or whatever. Bill Dundee, like it just every person that you could possibly name was on that. So I wasn't starstruck, but I was like, this is really like the big leagues of the independent of the independents. So I went to type Porter an email telling him that I was gonna go try my hand at that. And before I could get it typed out, I got a message saying I got future endeavored. Like, we wish you well in your future. I'm like, Porter. So literally it said, your services are no longer needed. We wish you well in your future endeavors. So I went and worked for Bert for many, many years, and learned the promotion end of things that was a whole different world. And I remember Jeremy Borash telling me, and again, there's a lot of stuff we're gonna have to circle back to, but telling me when I first started working for him that in order to make it in this business, I'm not just going to make it in this business off my voice. It's not happening. You have to learn like every aspect of the business to be able to do so. And that's kind of what I've done. Not every aspect. I don't know the production end of things that much. Like I do as far as setup and stuff, but let's say the technical end of the production end of things. Like I wouldn't, as you see, I'm having technical difficulties just recording this, but yeah, I've tried to learn as much as I can in the business.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. So we did. So I don't know if do you have like a top 5 of announcers like that you like kind of look towards and be like, oh man, that was the guy. Try to take a little bit from him.
So as far as in ring goes, I mean, I'm going to do in ring and commentators together because these are the people that I just okay. So when I was growing up, I was brought in on Memphis, like I told you earlier, but my heroes were Jerry Lawler, Bill Dundee, Dutch Mantell, and then it was Lance Russell and Dave Brown. So, Lance and Dave have both got to be on there. Howard Finkel, as far as going back to just the announcers, Howard Finkel, as far as just the in-ring stuff, man, and then probably Bruce and Michael Buffer, man. They're both phenomenal. I don't know if you know that story or not, but they had no idea they were brothers until they were in their 30s. Have you ever heard that story?
No.
Yeah. So I can't tell it verbatim, but they grew up apart from each other, and one of them realized that the other one was announcing and was like he looks kind of like me. He's got my name, and they found each other and then like traced it back, and they ended up being brothers. It's the craziest thing in the world. Look it up. But and here's the thing, man. Like I truly have got to live my dream, and again, we're gonna keep peeling back the layer of the onion, but I've got to work with all those people, man. Like in being able to do that, it just has been really humbling and super cool. But so yeah, I would say the Lance Russell, Dave Brown, Howard Finkel, and then the Buffers.
That's crazy. I didn't know that about them.
Yeah, I'll stand on that one. That's a pretty good group.
Yeah. So you've been a part of like the past a little bit and the future. Where do you think the business is today as opposed to where it used to be?
So it's funny. I was just having a conversation this weekend about it. Like, first of all, the business for a while has been back on an upswing. It's really fun to watch how people are excited about wrestling again. It's not the wrestling that I grew up on, but I'm not Jim Cornette. I'm not stuck in the past. Like, I love where it's going. I don't like the cosplay BS or any of that, but like I want to, as long as we respect the tradition of the past and try to keep it as close to that, but still evolving, I'm okay, man. Yeah, I'm an old school guy, but I'm perfectly fine with where we're going as long as we continue to pay respect to the, because look, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for any of those people, man. Like it just and they laid a beautiful um groundwork and foundation for us to build on. Um, you know, I don't watch as much as I used to. Now if I'm watching, it's a show I'm doing. I will go back and catch highlights, and I stay plugged into all the, the news or whatever. I don't read dirt sheets or any of that, but I try to stay plugged in and keep my finger on the pulse, so I know where it's going, and I'm okay with it. Like I said, as long as we continue to pay, keep the tradition alive and pay our respects to the past.
I agree fully. I am fully about paying respect to the past. My in ring work is a lot of older stuff.
I can tell that. I can tell that. And look, like, so I mean, you know how I am. I'm pretty vocal in the back. If I see somebody not wiping their feet off before they get in, or anything like that, that just, I just want to make sure that respect stays intact, man. Yeah, yeah.
I agree fully with that. I agree fully. So let's just take a little fun break. So
Okay.
let's get a good road story. I know you got a bunch.
Start with this weekend. I mean, I'm not going to, but my best story of all time, and most of my crazy stories, believe it or not, I know you're going to be shocked, but involve Chase Stevens. And I just spent the weekend with him too. I could write a book on just this weekend alone. But I'm
Such a
gonna go
good dude, though. Such a good
and
dude.
I'm gonna lay the whole groundwork because it makes it funnier. So it's no secret that drugs are a major part of my history, part of my story. I had back surgery at 18, got addicted to painkillers, but I never really tried to start changing my life until 2018. So I had and I'm going around my asshole to get to my elbow, but it's all really important. So I had a series of very unfortunate events. My best friend died 18 years to the day after another best friend of mine died. Um, my mentor had a stroke, and my girl of 11 years told me she was with somebody else. All that happened was like in 72 hours. So then my son calls and says, Dad, I know you're going through it, man. He said, just walk away, come down here, and let's start all over. The year before, I was working for an IT firm and had pretty much all but disconnected from the wrestling business. I was doing a little bit sometimes, but working for an IT firm, made $120,000 that year. And then all that happened, and I left almost everything with her. I just took what I had to have and a little bit of money, and I go to Florida and move in with my son, and get down there only to find out that he's smoking crack. So I'm like, man, I was like, am I with Jamie Dundee again? Like, what's going on? No, I'm playing. But so I leave and I'm homeless for the first time in my life, and I end up going to the hospital. Um, or I'm sorry, I slept outside that first night. I go to do it again the second night, and I got stung in the face by a wasp a bunch, and I'm like really allergic to them or whatever. So I went to the hospital, and the last thing I remember is calling 911. I don't remember anything after that for a while. I'd been up for a while. It just, this had all happened within the last week. And at some point, I told them that I wanted to kill myself. Uh, I I don't remember doing that. I do remember wanting to die. But anyway, so they sent me to a and God, I'm going so long to get into the story, but keep me on track. But they sent me to a mental hospital, and I meet a guy from Murfreesboro that knew me from the old USA show on WB back when it was on WB. And he had been homeless and was like down on his luck too, and knew the lay of the land, like knew the way to be homeless, I guess, for lack of better words. So we become fast friends, and I decide that it's a good idea to just go, uh, you know, try my hand at being homeless for a little while. I always make it back. I'll be fine. So I'll go do that. This is like the end of May. June 18th, my birthday that year, I got hit by a truck. Woke up, did a bunch of drugs, and I had a beer, and I was going to sell 2 phones for somebody. And I go to cross the road, and there's a kid with me. He was like, man, let's go down to the crosswalk. I was like, look, I'm 40 years old today. I've never followed the rules of my life. Why am I going to start now? So I did, like, I go to cross, and I look left, right, left, like you're supposed to. I had enough sense to do that. And I go to run across the street, and I black out. So as I come to, like, it was just a little blackout moment. As I come to, I hear tires screeching and horns blaring, and I never fall down. So I slam into the side of this truck, and it runs over both of my feet. I fall back. I don't spill my beer, mind you, because I'm a trained professional, and but I'm like, oh my God, my feet are destroyed. And I try to get up, and I can't. And they're trying to call the ambulance, and I won't let them because I'm inebriated, and I've got track marks all over my arms, and like bad. So I clean up for the next couple of days, and then I go to the hospital. This time I told them I wanted to kill myself on purpose because I knew they would help me. They sent me to detox first, though. And while I was at detox, I met a guy who is still I'm still very close to today. Jay Sweetman, I love you, buddy. Met a guy that didn't own it. He was a manager for a halfway house, and he got me in there, and I really started trying to change. Well, I put a couple months clean together, like, I don't know, 2 to 4 months, and I got a call from Chase saying we're filming a new TV show on WBKO in Bowling Green. He was like, why don't you come up and host that? I was like, all right, man. And God, I wish you had the clips to look at this. I thought I looked good at this time because I've got a couple months clean, and I'm putting a little bit of weight back on. And when I look at it now, it makes me want to cry because I look like Skeletor on crack still. But anyways, so I come up here and move in with Chase. And if anybody that knows Chase, he does not talk on the phone ever. Like, I think, and I mean this with all that I have, I cannot remember a time in my life other than this weekend that I've ever talked to him, and I've literally traveled the country with him. So I move up here just by messages on Instagram. I swear to God. He said it was like me. He said I was like Marty Jannetty. Like, I'm on my way, I'm on my way, I'm on my way. I'm at the airport and wouldn't show up for whatever. And then finally I said, I'm at the bus station. Where you at, bro? So I move up here with him, and our first weekend on the road, here's the road story. Our first weekend on the road, my God, we do it's a whole West Virginia loop. In West Virginia, like, we should never go there. Like, every time we go, something terrible happens. So we and it's not just me. Like, when me and him go, like, when he goes by himself, it's always something bad. But our first night was at a Harley Davidson dealership. Huntington, West Virginia, I think. So we do the show, and me and him and the promoter and a couple girls go to a club. Well, the promoter ends up leaving and says, I'll be back. So Chase and I had the bar sold out, telling all the wrestling stories. You know how it is, man. Like, people, either they want to fight you when they find out you're a wrestler, or they're like, or they're like, oh my God, do you know The Rock? Oh my God, whatever. My cousin Stone Cold, man, he wrestled over at the Armory, and his he's my cousin. You know the deal. So the promoter leaves, and Chase and I are telling all the bar stories. Chase also has a lot of cool boxing stories. He's boxed with Oscar De La Hoya and Gold Glove boxer, and so we're telling all those stories, and I had to go pee, and the last thing I remember is not being able to find the bathroom. So I go pee outside, and the next thing I remember is flashes of being loaded onto an ambulance. I wish Chase was on here with me. Like to tell the story. Well, about this time, everybody's wanting to fight Chase, and he's trying to stall until I get back. I'm beating all your asses. This story gets back. which is uncommon because Chase, I've literally watched him knock out 20 people by himself, literally. I guess he wanted to make sure that I was going to be able to get him home, but I'm beating all your ass as soon as Troy gets back. So then, about that time, there's somebody on Facebook Live watching me get loaded onto an ambulance. He was like, "Wait, who is that?" She was like, "I don't know, some guys out there getting loaded on an ambulance." He's like, "No, he's with me." He was like, so I don't know how, like, I don't know what happened next, but he, so I end up at the hospital. I Chase doesn't have many memories after that. And then the promoter was going to come back into the story in a minute. I wake up from the hospital and was like, "Oh, what have I done?" First of all, I was trying to get clean, and this did. I've messed everything up again, like whatever. So, they come in and tell me what happened or whatever. I was like, they said, also, the ambulance drivers threw your hot dog away. I was like, well, they were very nice of them. I was like, but where's my ride? Like, how did I get here? What's going on? They had no information whatsoever. All I had was a number for Chase, Messenger, and Instagram, and tried to get a hold of him, going straight to voicemail. I was like, what am I going to do? So I didn't even know the promoter's name. Like, I'm sure I learned it at some point during this process. And I was like, oh my God, what the? So I did have enough wherewithal to know that we did a show at the Harley Davidson dealership. For whatever reason, I remembered that, and I remembered the name of the promotion. So I called the Harley Davidson dealership and was like, look, man, I really need y'all to get me in touch with the promoter. I left my keys to my car with him last night. I didn't want to give him too much information. Can you please help me get it? So they gave me his number. We got in touch. We finally found Chase, and he was in Kentucky. So we all went to a bar. The promoter ends up getting a DUI in front of his house in West Virginia. I end up in the hospital in Ohio, and Chase ends up at some random trailer park in Kentucky. You're welcome.
Oh man,
Stop that.
Jesus Christ, that's a good story. Okay, so we started talking about the bad parts of it. Let's go through what led to the recovery and all the the upstanding man we have now.
So, and thank you. This is all very important to me, man, because it is my life today. So, and it's not bad parts to me, man. Like my past is my greatest asset, man. I had to go through all that to be able to do what I do today. So, like I said, I had back surgery at 18, over almost 30-year opiate addiction. Ended up getting on methadone, and was on that for like 10 years. So, and in between, like I was in the entertainment business. Like I've done everything twice. If I liked it, I did it a whole lot more. But so I say that opiates was what it's where it started, but I've done it all, man. So all that happened that I told you earlier. That's the first time I ever started trying to get clean. After that with Chase, I traveled with Chase for a little bit, and I ended up meeting a girl who. So I've done. It's not always just been wrestling for me. I've done some stuff in music and stuff like that too. Anyway, I did some shows with Yellow Wolf in like 2017, and I met a girl there that found me on whatever. So I hooked up with her. Look, I don't miss shows, bro, and I ended up going with her this weekend. Got messed up out of my head and missed a whole weekend worth of shows. And I come back to Chase's like everything's gonna be okay, and he kicked me out. Like Chase and I didn't speak for about 6 months, man, and he had every right to. Like I dropped the ball and all that shit. I disrespected his house, but so I was in Clarksville, and I hadn't been to Clarksville in 20 years when I moved in with Chase, so I didn't know anything there. So I ended up going to somebody told me about the Salvation Army. I went there, and I was there about a month, and they told me about a place called Safe Harbor. in Bucksnort, Tennessee, only Tennessee. The Bucksnort exits halfway between Jackson and Nashville. It's kind of famous anyway. So there's the only thing that's there is a rehab, adult bookstore, and a gay campground. So I ended up at the rehab there, and I just really wanted to change my life, man. I'd gone from making $120,000 a year to being homeless to, almost dying. What I didn't tell you is that while I was in Florida, I overdosed and had to be on in a medically induced coma. I had a ventilator in my throat. Like, they called my mom to tell her to come say goodbye, and miraculously I popped out of it. So God has kept me around for some reason, you know what I mean? So I really wanted to start. I really wanted to change. So I went there and I gave it all that I had, and ended up running that place after I took over the back to work part of things about 5 or 6 months in, and then ended up going on to run that place. Well, in June of 21, my 6-month-old granddaughter died, and I might cry, like, for real. Just after that, my son overdosed twice, and what I taught thousands of men how to do, I didn't do myself. And I would work in any kind of a program. I had no support group. All I was doing was making that program my program. And as usual, what I've always done, let a woman, try to take care of me. And
oh no, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully we get back into the swing of things here in a second. This is good stuff to know about, and it's like the same thing. The business is very difficult too. It's a very high addiction rate business, and it's the same with in the culinary world, same music world, entertainment. A lot of people deal with lots of these issues, and the addiction rate is very high. So to hear somebody talking about how they finally made it through that way is great to hear, and it will probably reach somebody's heart and maybe be like, okay, maybe I can do the same thing too. Because I've had friends pass away to addiction, and I know that it was an all-consuming thing that just like took their entire life. And I understand that it's very difficult, and when you lose somebody to something like that, it just takes it out of you. So to hear somebody talking about how they came through the other side, now they are changed and they went on to run said rehabilitation center. It's just a really good story all around. Hopefully he will be joining us back on here in a second. Internet and technical difficulties. The story is great though, because we're going full circle talking about how addiction ran his life and how he then turned it on its head and was all about some form of redemption, I would assume, because you would finally beat the addiction. I know that you can never really fully beat it, but he pretty much turned his life around, and just what can be accomplished with the willpower to want to do something like that. I don't know where he is, but again, this has been a great conversation so far. Season 2, The Jackson Black Show, episode 1. Well, speaking, I have been away. That's why I've been gone. My little brother recently passed away in a tragic motorcycle accident, and that is why I have been away. But now I'm back, and I love doing these interviews. I love getting to know the people behind the personas. It's all been really enlightening, the different backstories, the different things that people have had to say about where they came from, where they found their love in this business. For everybody, I mean, anybody, refs, everybody's a part of the show, and this one might not go, but show love towards everybody involved, like your ring crew, your announcers, every single person, the sound guy, everybody that's doing their job, because without them, there is no you. And I know the whole focal point is the wrestler, but without all the other pieces, stuff like that just doesn't work. It it just doesn't work. So you can't be the star of the show and not thank anybody. Don't get a big ego. Thank everybody for what they contribute to, because a lot goes into the shows, from getting the venue to getting tickets out there to getting fans in the building. It's a big thing, because without those people, you have no one to ply your craft and show the world what you have. So my round of applause to all the people behind the scenes, everybody. Keep doing what you're doing. You make what I do a lot easier, uh, and safe, because I don't want to go in a ring with loose ropes or something like that, and you guys take care of all that stuff, from concessions to if there's parking. Everybody that is involved in the show, I want to tell you thank you very much, because I appreciate everything you guys do, as should everyone else, no matter where you are on a card or what you do in the business, whatever the situation may be. Show respect to everybody, because I mean, you can't do what you do without them, and that's where I'm gonna leave you on that. I don't know if he's gonna come back on here. Because it was a great conversation. We were talking about how everything went, and the life cycle of addiction, and to where it then blossomed into a redemption, and then a recovery and a rehab. And it's just, my heart goes out to stuff like that. Again, like I said, I had buddies pass away from fentanyl addiction, and that was not good. That was, granted, we haven't talked in like 10 years, but I mean, you still have that, because you grew up together, you formed those bonds, you made those memories, and knowing that person is no longer walking around the world, it's impactful. It hurts. Well, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jackson Black. That was Troy Beasley sharing a whirlwind of everything with that. It was a beautiful story to hear. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Jackson Black. He is former WWE ring announcer, and lots of other things in boxing and all of that stuff. A great guy, a good story. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. My name is Jackson Black, and this is the end of season 2, episode 1 of the Jackson Black Show.